Morning, everybody. Good job on the settling down. Good morning and welcome to the 2025 Transformative Urban Mobility Initiative Conference. I'm Frederik Strompen. I'm a fairly new GIZ project director for the Sustainable Urban Mobility Sector Program.
And I'm Sasank Vermuri. I'm the program director for the TUMI Just Mobility Global Program.
Right. We'll explain more detail what that means later on. It's great to see so many of you from all over the world. Thank you for traveling as far from Douala, Bangalore, Kiev, Santiago, Lagos, and beyond. Welcome. Great that so many of you made it to Leipzig. I would like to, in particular, welcome Dr. Heike Henn. She is a director at the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, or BMZ. BMZ actually has initiated the TUMI in, I think, 2016. And I think over the last 9 years, TUMI has really left some remarkable impact on sustainable transport worldwide. And that would not be possible without the fantastic cooperation, guidance, and of course, financial support of BMZ to TUMI. And so thank you very much for that. TUMI really thrives through its partnerships, and we're very proud to collaborate in TUMI with global actors from KfW, ADB, C40, iClay, UN Habitat, CAF, ITDP, and SLOCAT. I'm pretty sure I didn't forget anyone. So welcome everybody of all our partners who are present here today. TUMI, over the last 9 years, has, I think, really managed to put important topics on the global agenda for sustainable transport. For example, on gender and inclusion, the Women Mobilize Women initiative, or the remarkable feminist voices, I think have really, with that, I think we really championed for more just and equitable sustainable transport. And I think the Women Mobilize Women initiative is really the flagship initiative for gender in transport, and I think we are all very proud of that. Second topic, I think, electric mobility with TUMI Vault and the e-bus mission, which we will hear more from later in the afternoon. We have led, I think, important groundwork for the electrification of public transport, especially in the global south. And we, for example, prepared the procurement of 100,000 electric buses. And having worked in a German municipality over the last 5 years, I can say that that number is really impressive. I think it took us a bit more than 5 years to procure a couple less buses. TUMI Data, I think with TUMI Data, we have early on explored the potential of open transport data and developed an open data platform for cities all over the world, and which is being, I think, used by various cities in the global south. Most of you know the TUMI challenges, also a very, I think, very innovative approach to sustainable transport projects. We have a couple of very innovative and scalable projects. For example, in Bangladesh, we developed and created a value chain for electric public transport, and was the first time that, for example, battery packs were actually assembled in Bangladesh itself. So I think that's also a fantastic achievement. As we approach TUMI's 10 years anniversary next year, I think we'll have more time to and opportunity to reflect on our joint achievements. And I think now it's time to also, in the context of multiple crises that we are facing, to focus today on a different topic, being resilience.
Thank you, Frederik. So as I mentioned, my name is Sasank Vermuri, and I head the TUMI Just Mobility Global Program. It's a BMZ-financed and EU co-financed 25 million euro program that looks to implement these topics that were really sort of piloted and developed in the sector project. So we really tried to integrate the issues of gender and data, e-mobility into concrete projects, particularly in Cameroon and in Santo Domingo. And you know, this is really the beginning of this conference, and we wanted to be here mostly so you can see the new faces. But I also wanted to say that for me, TUMI, I mean, I took over this project on the 15th of January. What I find so impressive and interesting about this initiative, in addition to sort of the partnerships, is how human the partnership is. I mean, it can be very technical topics, e-mobility, but I think TUMI really puts the people at the center of the story. I think through the Women Mobilizing Women initiative and through the inclusion policy brief, we see that TUMI is really putting people at the center of all of these very complicated technical issues. And because at the end of the day, resilience is about how our kids get to school when the monsoon is particularly intensive, like who drives the vehicles when the men are called to war. And these are exactly the type of topics that TUMI has been working on. So I'm very happy and pleased to have joined this really innovative, interesting team that's working on complexity, but with really a human touch. So welcome to the TUMI conference of 2025. And I'll hand it back to you to call up the moderators.
Yes, now I would welcome and introduce two colleagues who don't need an introduction, but they deserve an introduction, of course. Dr. Jens Giersdorf, who is in his 5th year as TUMI Management Head, and Keisha. Hi, Jens. And he will be moderating together with Keisha Mayuga, who's not only a remarkable feminist voice in 2023, but also has really shaped the Women Mobilize Women initiative. So, all the best.
Thank you so much, Frederik and Sasank. Let's give them a hand, you know. They've been our heads for less than a year, and I don't know, I think they did a great job explaining what we do at TUMI. So, Jens?
Yeah, the first time I understood the difference between the sector and the global project today. No, kidding, but yeah, happy to see Frederik and Sasank here and everybody in this room. So welcome to the TUMI conference this year.
Yeah, so again, my name is Keisha Mayuga, and I'm a transport policy advisor for TUMI, and I specialize on Women Mobilize Women and inclusion, and as you can see from the rest of the team, I also specialize in fun. So don't worry, it's not going to be like super strict German. I know we started on time, but it's also going to be a lot of fun.
But we also need to have a look on the agenda. No? There's some work to do, Keisha, not only fun. So as you can see, we have quite a packed agenda today. We were focusing on resilience in terms of infrastructure, governance, and society.
We also have some technical sessions in store for us today, so if you haven't signed up yet, you can do so at the back, right outside of the store. There are sign-up sheets for the technical sessions. You can also read up about them later on. But don't worry, we'll also have a little pitch from our session leads, so you can get to know more about what the technical sessions are about.
And after the sessions, we'll have the closing of the TUMI e-bus mission, so that will be also a fun part. And you will learn more about the TUMI e-bus mission impact with a quiz. And I also heard there are some balloons and cookies and so on at the reception at the end of the day. So please stay until the end. Don't leave here by train to Berlin or Bonn. Stay until the end.
Yeah, if you want to have some of the cookies and the balloons, you have to stay until the end. And we also have the VR experience outside. You could see it set up also right outside this door. And we also have some boards with questions you can answer post-its with. So we'd love to hear your thoughts and put your thoughts out there. And you know, the rest of the TUMI team is also around if you want to share your thoughts, get to know us. Yeah, we're all around.
So to officially open the conference, I would like to call Dr. Heike Henn. She was already introduced by Frederik, the Director for Climate and Energy and Environment of the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, called BMZ. So please, the stage is yours.
Good morning, everybody. And I would say I also like colors and might be fun like Keisha. But I agree very much, and thank you for the excellent opening, colleagues, and the moderation for this day. And welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, colleagues, partners. It's so great at this beautiful day in this beautiful city that I visited for the first time. Shame on me. But to have really a room full of experts, not only from all different countries, but also so many people, partners, that are engaging and bringing in all their expertise for change, for prosperity, for development on a livable planet, where we know transport is a key piece because it moves basically literally everybody every day, if it works. So transport is also a topic of everyday conversation, so especially when it doesn't work. So it's really a key piece that you are working on, and really a shout out also to TUMI as a very innovative, active initiative that brings so many great partners together with us, more in-time boring Germans, Keisha. Thank you. So our topic today is resilience in transport. And resilience is a bit of a catchword, buzzword. In Germany, we talk about the resilience of our defense sector right now. So nevertheless, although it's in almost every article, it's also difficult to explain to my neighbor exactly what resilience is. And we try to find different ways. So today, transport, and I would say, okay, we are resilient, systems are resilient when they work in times of stress. But I would, and specifically for the transport sector, also claim that systems are resilient when they also help to overcome the challenges and the stress. And I think transport is specifically needed to bring help from A to B, to bring people and so on. So there, the resilience piece might be even more important. And at the same time, all of us have seen in all of our countries or regions or neighbor countries over the last only 12 months or recent weeks when systems fail and also transport is affected. Be it blackout in Chile or only a couple of weeks ago in Spain and Portugal, the breakdown that also affected transport. Extreme heat in the Philippines we've seen with the consequences, and also last year from different also perspectives, a heat wave in Western Africa, also cyclone in India, and talking more about a different dimension, cyber attacks on London transport. And for 3 years now, specific targeting the transport sector in Ukraine. And what does this do to the resilience? So many examples for threats coming from different directions, from disasters, from climate impacts, from system failure, be it energy, and also from conflict. So to be there in times of stress, to withstand, to recover, to adapt, but also to help out, to overcome the challenges is, I think, really key to find solutions in the transport sector and to see how we can do better to get there. And from my understanding, you are all here to do exactly that. And we will be more the wiser at the end of the day. And I'm looking forward to that. And I think Frederik, you mentioned already, looking back, the former TUMI conferences, and I think the Women Mobilize Women piece, but also looking at how systems change towards e-mobility, targeting policies, regulatory frameworks, as well as the data piece. All the elements you mentioned will be important today. So not only in their specificity, but also how they contribute to resilience. And they will come up also in the 3 building blocks that I, from the perspective of the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, would like to share with you at the beginning of today. And the 3 pillars from our perspectives are infrastructure, governance, and society. And the first pillar, infrastructure, of course. Mobility, transport is about infrastructure, although TUMI also tries to change the perspective. It's much more than grey infrastructure. And it has to become less grey from my perspective. We need adaptive infrastructure, agile systems, and to be adaptive, it has to be more blue or green or all the colors that Keisha wears. So we have to be more adaptive. And what does this mean? I mean, we support, for example, in India, a new metro system that is built to withstand flooding and heat waves. So why flooding and heat waves? The first thing when you want to adapt is to know what to adapt for. So have a risk analysis, and not only for the next 10 years, because it's infrastructure. Ideally, it's there in 50 years. And if you don't want stranded assets, then we have to analyze the risk for 50 years, and to know what is happening in India or Leipzig or Dalla in 50 years. And so also the planning then for this infrastructure construction has to be long-term, and we have really to build in this long-term reliability perspective in our infrastructure. And to be adaptive also, we need to be flexible and have to really analyze and use the data that is out there, and that our human minds are too too small to analyze quickly. And so the artificial intelligence data piece comes in. And I think Vietnam was the case where we worked with partners to use data and AI to really redirect transport when flooding is coming. So to have this element of diversification built into our systems is very important. Second piece, governance. Of course, we need governments, local and nationally, to make things happen, to have the authority to get things done, to get everybody together. But for governments in their infrastructure decisions, in their transport decisions, we need the right mindset, the right objective to really plan for resilience. If you don't have resilience or inclusiveness or other objectives at the starting point of your planning, you might be lucky and it is there by chance in the end, but you will better get there if you go for it right in the beginning. So we need really ownership of governments. Then we, within Istanbul, we can cooperate with partners for sustainable urban mobility planning, for pandemics and earthquakes, and unfortunately very timely in Istanbul. When we have the joint objectives, planning for resilience, then we can also work together with governments or institutions on how to collaborate with those stakeholders that we need in regular times, but more specifically when challenges come up. Because we know then collaboration is key with private sector, also for the risk analysis, with researchers, with transport operators. And I think me representing government, maybe also it happens in GIZ or ADB, I wonder. Sometimes we like our silos, but silos are not so good for collaboration. We need division of labor, we need to be efficient, we cannot do 10 people the same thing all the time, but we need to leave our silos in the key pieces that make really joint and more effective impact possible. So we support partners also on interagency collaboration and different cross-sector tools. Specifically, private sector is important. And strong institutions really are only strong if they are able to adapt, to also listen, to be agile, and not think that governments, ministries, of course we know best, but we don't know best. And we need to be open and collaborative with others. The third and last pillar is societies, or basically people. Transport is for people, but we also need people to be resilient. We need to work with different stakeholders. We need to plan to implement with and for people, and with the perspective of the most vulnerable. If it works for the most vulnerable in society, it works for all of us. We have seen people are so resilient in Ukraine for 3 years, and specifically, for example, rail workers who show enormous resilience under very harsh conditions. Local initiatives in so many countries that you represent here, they stand up for the most vulnerable, they stand up against inequality and for participatory approaches. So therefore, infrastructure, governance, and society are key pillars to build resilience in the transport sector. I have not mentioned a key ingredient yet, and shame on me, finance. And BMZ, as partner of many of you, might represent also finance. So, of course, what I was talking about, long-time planning and so on, collaboration, this needs finance. Finance is scarce right now. Discussion on finance are difficult. Also, big programs to implement them, not only to finance them in societies with partners, is also difficult right now. But we cannot only talk about resilience, long-term planning and so on, and not make our systems of finance also fit to incorporate this long-term planning, but also incorporate also or find the provisions for possible, not in all times, possible higher upfront costs. And I don't know how ADB and others manage it, but I think this is something, the costs that come with system failure, with transport failure for the economy, for people, they are never in the initial project concept and bill that is presented to partners. So we have to adapt our internal systems to provide finance as well. And innovative instruments like also climate risk insurance, resilient bonds, dedicated maintenance or adaptation funds can further, together also with private sector, support smarter investment decisions. So I'm looking forward to all of you discuss even more smart solutions, best practice, key challenges, and ideally overcome those today with the exchange platform this conference represents. I'm looking forward to your solutions and the impact that you all create, and wishing all of us a successful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Dr. Heike Henn for those really kind words. And you're correct, we do need to talk about finance. And in our program, it's not explicitly said, but finance is lunchtime. So the best the decisions are made maybe while your tummy is full. So I'd like now to call on the stage Mr. Stefan Mager, head of GIZ's Infrastructure, Energy, Water, Mobility, to share more opening words. So Stefan, please, let's give him a round of applause.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Heike Henn, dear colleagues, friends. It is my pleasure to open this conference, the TUMI 2025 conference here in Leipzig, and allow me also a personal note on Leipzig, actually. It's not my first time in Leipzig, but not many more times, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, something like this. I think I can count it on one hand, and it's still a shame because I grew up 100 kilometers east of here. And you are here in the Free State of Saxony, and this has 2 capitals. One is Dresden, which is the political capital, and then it's Leipzig, which has always been the capital for trade. Yeah, it has always been the window to the world of this area. So it's very legitimate to do this conference here. And you can, I don't know who came by train, if you enter here Leipzig via that cathedral of a train station, it's amazing. Yeah? And you still would see with the airport, there's the DHL logistics hubs. And I just heard in the news recently that Dornier, historic, I would say, German aircraft manufacturer, plans to build here a manufacturing site for constructing airplanes that are H2 ready, to say so could be fueled with sustainable aviation fuels once we have them. So yeah, could not be a better place to open that or to have this conference here in Leipzig. But today, as nicely framed by Dr. Henn, our focus is on building resilience and inclusive mobility systems in our cities. And as we see, and again, Dr. Henn made this clear, infrastructure is the backbone of our modern lives. Yeah, also of our societies. Transport, energy, communication, water, all are basic infrastructure topics. And these systems face growing threats, extreme weather events from the climate change, of course, heat waves, floods, sea level rise, cyber attacks, and not, unfortunately not last, the political disruption and global tensions. And that's why resilience in infrastructure is not optional, it's a strategic necessity that should be integrated into our projects, planning approaches and policies. And let me briefly share why this is a priority for us as GIZ and why it is especially critical for the mobility sector. Transport infrastructure stands for connection, stability, and progress. And when people have decent access to transport systems, especially public transport, they are able to access economic opportunities and participate in social, and I would also say political life. It's a little bit a long range to it, but I think access to mobility is also a backbone of democratic systems, to say so. But what happens when it fails? Our colleagues from BMZ already gave a few recent examples, and unfortunately there are more to add. Yeah? So the list is very long, so we don't have to duplicate on that one. Yeah? You can see it here in Germany, the Rhine River, the water levels go down, which has huge consequences for the logistics on the river. We saw the blockage of the Suez Canal in 2021 and the consequences, the droughts that also impact the Panama Canal operations in 23, 24, and maybe in the future years more to come. We saw the recent blackout in Portugal and Spain, and of course the devastating floods in Southern Africa and also Western Balkans in 2024, where I was still there in Kosovo on mission for GIZ, so having there some also personal impressions on that one. And these events heavily affected food and energy supply chains and affected especially most vulnerable groups who depend on a functioning public transport system. And you know all what you pay in the grocery stores for your food, and imagine this then for vulnerable groups with the increased prices, for instance, for basic food, for example. And our world is increasingly shaped by uncertainty. On top of that, the COVID-19 pandemic revealed the fragility of global systems. Russia's war on Ukraine shook the foundations of European security with all its consequences. And crises like these are no longer rare, and you know this framing of the not so nice new normal. And these events unsettle our sense of safety and challenge our confidence in long-term planning. And the real issue isn't just how many crises occur, it's how deeply they affect us. More people are exposed, especially, as I said, the vulnerable regions and people. Material losses grow. Also, I think Leipzig is known for its banking and insurance sector. And if you read the numbers, the insurance sector has to bring up to cover losses from natural disasters. It's extremely high. And our global interdependence makes us more collectively vulnerable. But we are here not just to, mourn on our suffering. Of course, we want to look into what can we do, and what can we do to overcome and handle, especially. And this is, I think, one of the core things of resilience, to be still active with these things. So we cannot stop these crises entirely, but we can be better prepared for them. And as mentioned before, we need to build resilience, the ability to withstand shocks, adapt and grow stronger. And it means staying capable of action, even in unstable conditions. It's about anticipating stress and not reacting to it. And in today's world, resilience is essential for governments, organizations, individuals. It's about shaping our future and with foresight and responsibility. And I'm pleased now to have a few practical examples from our work, what can be done and what we should discuss here. So the question, how do we build resilient infrastructure? First, thinking in alternatives and creating redundancies in critical systems, having flexible networks, diverse markets, multiple supply routes. If you follow German news on the dependencies on certain trade markets, for instance China, and now the discussions how to diversify in certain sectors, this is, I think, one of the geopolitical examples. but also we in GIZ, we very much look into these topics. One example is the project Expanding Green and Digital Trade and Transport in Eastern Partnerships, where we work on facilitating cross-border movement of goods between Eastern Partnership countries through the introduction of digital solutions within and the cooperation between custom authorities. So alternatives is first, second is decentralization. Distributed systems can be more robust. For example, several smaller logistics hubs instead of one central depot can reduce vulnerability. And this is one measure of the comprehensive logistics action plan, which a GIZ project in India helped to draft for the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Third topic is maintenance and preparedness. They are equally important as new construction, and resilience isn't just built, it's sustained through continuous attention, care, and readiness. And the fourth pillar I want to mention is, of course, using technology wisely, not just to boost efficiency, but to strengthen flexibility and durability. And many transport and logistic operators have already introduced predictive maintenance through big data. They know when to repair infrastructure and vehicles before they break down. And I have to say a big thank you to all of you, of course, but also to GIZ colleagues. And I can tell you from inside GIZ, whenever you talk about who are the most digital persons in GIZ, it's the transport people. They are absolutely spearheading this topic in GIZ, and they're very proud to be part of that. And these are these four major pillars, and GIZ is including these aspects in its advisory work around the globe. We work with our partners on transport infrastructure, which is climate resilient. We develop plans with governments and public transport operators, which give answers to the questions which we are discussing here today. And we work, of course, with NGOs to make sure that the needs of different groups are considered in planning and design. Coming to an end, resilient infrastructure ensures more than just survival. It enables continuity, reliability, and trust. It keeps society capable of action, and I want to say it keeps societies open today and in future. So investing in resilience means investing in independence, security, sustainability, and as I said, democracy. And these are not costs, these are conditions for stability in an unstable world. And as GIZ, on behalf of BMZ and other partners, we support resilience building worldwide, locally, regionally, and globally. And I look forward to discussions and mainly to learning from all of you. Thank you.